Hello everyone and welcome back to the family. Before we begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more real horror stories like this. And drop a comment telling where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. Thank you for being part of the family. Now, let's begin tonight's story. Story 1. The house that wasn't on the map. 1:32 a.m. My phone buzzed against the cup holder just as I was turning off Main Street. At the exact same moment, the GPS voice said, "You have arrived," even though I was still surrounded by gas stations and closed storefronts. The app showed a rural delivery address nearly 15 miles outside the city. Somehow, it thought I was already there. I sat at the red light and stared at the screen. The order had come through a minute earlier. 1 burger combo, fries, and a drink. Standard late-night stuff. The name on the order just said M. What bothered me wasn't the food. It was the map. The route line stretched far out past the edge of town, into the darker area where the street grid faded into long county roads. But the GPS marker, the little blue arrow that represented me, was already blinking directly on top of the delivery point. Like I was there, even though I clearly wasn't. I refreshed the app. The route recalculated, and this time it behaved normally. The marker snapped back to my location, and the directions appeared again. 16 minutes. I figured it was just a glitch. Delivery apps do that sometimes, especially late at night when the signal gets weird, so I followed the directions. Within 5 minutes, the city lights started thinning out. The road narrowed and the street lights disappeared one by one. The GPS guided me onto a 2-lane road I'd never driven before, even though I'd been doing food delivery for almost 2 years. The address kept counting down. 9 minutes, 7 minutes, 5 minutes. The farther I drove, the darker it got. Not the normal kind of rural darkness either. It felt dense, like the headlights weren't reaching as far as they should. There were no houses, no mailboxes, just trees and long stretches of empty roadside. I checked the app again. Still the same order, same address, but the customer name had changed. The M was gone. The name field was blank. I slowed down a little. Sometimes people edit delivery notes mid-order, but I'd never seen the name disappear completely. The GPS told me to turn right. The road it pointed to barely looked like a road at all, more like a narrow gravel lane cutting through the trees. I hesitated for a second, then turned anyway. The moment my tires hit the gravel, my phone signal dropped from 3 bars to 1. The lane stretched forward maybe half a mile before the trees opened up, and that's where the house was. It sat alone at the end of the road, a small wooden place with a wide porch and no visible lights. The paint was faded enough that I couldn't tell what color it used to be. It looked empty. Not recently empty. The kind of empty where nobody had lived there for a long time. But my app still said, "You've arrived." I parked near the edge of the driveway and shut off the engine. Without the engine noise, the silence out there felt unusually thick. No insects, no wind, just quiet. I grabbed the delivery bag and walked up the short path to the porch. The boards creaked under my shoes, and that's when I noticed the other bags. At first, I thought they were trash, but when I got closer, I realized what they actually were. Old delivery bags, at least 5 of them, different restaurants, different logos. Some looked like they'd been there for hours. One looked like it had been there for days. I stopped halfway up the porch steps. Every bag was placed neatly beside the door, like someone had been leaving food there all night. I checked the address again. Still correct. Still the same house. The delivery instructions updated. Not a notification, just a quiet change in the text field. Leave it and go. That was it. No name, no other instructions. Just that sentence. I set the food next to the other bags. The moment I did, I felt something shift in the air around me. Not a sound exactly, more like the subtle awareness that you're not alone. I looked up at the house. That's when I saw the camera. Mounted just above the door frame, pointed directly at my face. The little red light on it was blinking. Recording. I stepped back instinctively, and out of the corner of my eye I noticed movement in one of the windows. A curtain on the far side of the porch moved slightly. Just a small shift, like someone standing behind it had leaned closer. I waited. Nothing else moved. The curtain went still again. I took out my phone and marked the order as delivered. But when the confirmation screen appeared, something else changed. The customer section was gone completely. No name, no profile, just the address. For a second, I considered knocking, but the silence of that place made the idea feel wrong. So I walked back to my car. I got in, locked the doors, and started the engine. As I pulled away, I checked the rearview mirror. The porch was still visible through the trees. All the delivery bags sat exactly where they were, except for one, the one I had just placed down. It was gone. I stopped the car, looked again. The spot where I'd left the bag was empty. The other ones were still there, just not mine. I didn't go back. I turned the car around and drove back down the gravel road. About 2 minutes later, my phone signal returned. The app refreshed automatically, and the map appeared again. But something about it didn't make sense. The blue arrow showing my location wasn't out in the countryside anymore. It was sitting right in the middle of the city, on Main Street. Exactly where I'd been when the order first came in. The route history showed a straight line from the restaurant to the delivery point. No long rural road, no gravel lane, no 15-minute drive. According to the GPS log, I had never left town. I pulled over and zoomed in on the address. The street name still existed, but when I tapped the location marker, the map zoomed out and displayed a message I had never seen before. Location not found. I searched the address again, manually. Nothing. No road, no house, no record of it anywhere on the map. And when I checked my delivery history in the app, that order wasn't there anymore either. Story 2. The delivery that was already opened 12:06 a.m. The kitchen clock above the prep station clicked over to the next minute, just as the order printer spat out one last ticket. At the same time, my phone buzzed with the delivery notification. The strange part was that the pizza listed on the ticket had already been sitting in the warmer for almost 10 minutes. I remember staring at the label on the box. Apartment 3B. The receipt taped to the lid showed the exact same order number that had just printed from the machine. But nobody in the kitchen remembered making a second pizza. It was the end of my shift. The store was already half closed. Chairs were stacked on tables and the lights over the dining area were off. I picked up the box and checked the order screen behind the counter. Only one delivery was listed. Apartment 3B, one large pepperoni. Nothing unusual. The only thing that bothered me was the timestamp. According to the receipt, the pizza had been made at 11:54 p.m., but the printer had only just produced the ticket at 12:06. I asked the cook if he had made this earlier by mistake. He shook his head. If it was made, it was in the system, he said, and that order just came through. I didn't argue. Late-night shifts get messy sometimes, so I grabbed the delivery bag and headed out. The apartment complex was about 7 minutes away. It was one of those quiet places built in the 80s, 2-story buildings, long exterior hallways, and dim yellow lights that never seemed bright enough. By the time I pulled into the parking lot, the place looked half asleep. A few windows were glowing with TV light. Most of the building was dark. I checked the receipt again. Building C, apartment 3B. The hallway smelled faintly like old carpet and cleaning solution. My footsteps echoed as I walked toward the door. 3B was near the end of the corridor. The door itself looked normal. Plain brown paint, small number plate, deadbolt lock. I knocked twice. The sound carried down the hallway. No response. I waited about 20 seconds and knocked again. Still nothing. I checked the delivery instructions in the app. Leave at door. That was pretty common. So I set the pizza box on the floor just beside the door frame. Before leaving, I did what I usually do. I snapped the photo for proof of delivery. The hallway lights flickered slightly when the camera flashed. Then I turned and started walking back toward the stairs. I had taken maybe 6 or 7 steps when something made me stop. A soft cardboard sound, not loud, just the quick flip of a lid opening. I turned around. The pizza box was open. The lid was folded all the way back. For a second I thought maybe I had left it that way, but I remembered clearly closing it after checking the receipt earlier. And when I looked closer, something else didn't make sense. 2 slices were missing. Not messy, not scattered, just gone. Like someone had taken them neatly out of the box. The door to apartment 3B hadn't moved, still closed, still locked. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, trying to listen for movement inside. Nothing. No footsteps, no voices, just the low hum of the hallway lights. I walked back toward the door. The pizza box was still sitting exactly where I left it. Open, steam rising faintly from the remaining slices. I knocked again, louder this time. Delivery. My voice echoed down the hallway. No answer. I tried the handle just to see if maybe someone had stepped away and forgotten to latch it. The handle didn't move. The door was locked. I stepped back slowly and looked down the hallway both directions. Empty. Every door closed. Every hallway light buzzing softly overhead. I pulled out my phone and opened the delivery app. That's when the message came through. A new notification appeared under the order. Customer message. You forgot the second order. I stared at the screen. Second order? I checked the receipt again. 1 pizza. That's all I picked up. I even reopened the order details just to be sure. 1 large pepperoni. No drinks, no sides, no second item. I typed back. I only received 1 pizza from the store. The message sent. No reply came. I looked back toward the door. The pizza box was gone. Completely gone. The floor where it had been sitting was empty. I walked over slowly. The door to 3B hadn't opened. The deadbolt was still locked in place. No sound from inside, no footsteps in the hallway, just the same low electric buzz from the lights. I stood there for a moment, trying to decide if maybe someone from another apartment had grabbed it as a joke, but the hallway was too quiet. And the timing didn't make sense. The box had disappeared in less than 30 seconds. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the customer. But this one looked different. Instead of a name, the sender field just showed the apartment number. 3B. The message read, "Next time, bring both." I felt something tighten in my chest. Not fear exactly. More like the slow realization that something about the order had never been right. I backed away from the door and headed toward the stairs. As I reached the middle of the hallway, the lights behind me shut off, one by one. Not suddenly, slowly, like someone flipping switches in sequence. The light above 3B went dark first, then the one beside it, then the next, each one turning off just after I passed beneath it. By the time I reached the stairwell, only 1 light remained on. The one directly above the apartment door. I didn't stop walking. I went straight to my car. Once inside, I refreshed the delivery app. The order screen was blank. No address, no receipt, no delivery record. Just the main dashboard like nothing had happened. I drove back to the store. The cook was finishing cleanup when I walked in. I asked him to check the order system. He scrolled through the last hour of tickets. There was nothing for apartment 3B. No pepperoni pizza. No delivery order at midnight. He looked up at me like I was joking. "We didn't send you anywhere," he said. And when I checked the photo gallery on my phone later that night, the delivery picture I had taken in the hallway wasn't there either, but something had clearly opened that pizza. Story 3. The customer who was still watching 2:03 a.m. My phone buzzed against the dashboard just as I turned onto Maple Avenue, and the delivery app announced a new grocery order. At the exact same moment, the rearview mirror caught headlights pulling into the street behind me, slow, steady, like they had been waiting for me to pass. The order instructions were short. "Do not knock. Leave the bags by the garage." I accepted it without thinking much about it. Late-night grocery deliveries were common in that area. People forgot things, ran out of milk, random stuff like that. The pickup was already prepared at a 24-hour market a few blocks away. 2 brown grocery bags, nothing heavy, a carton of eggs, bread, a gallon of milk, basic things. The address was in a quiet suburban neighborhood about 10 minutes from the store, the kind of place where everything looks the same at night. Wide streets, neatly spaced houses, no sidewalks, just long driveways and trimmed lawns disappearing into the dark. By the time I turned onto the customer street, most of the neighborhood lights were off. Only a few porch lamps were still on, glowing dim and yellow through the trees. The house I was delivering to sat near the end of the block. 2 stories, detached garage, no lights anywhere, not even inside. The entire place looked completely dark. I slowed the car as the GPS voice quietly said, "You have arrived." That's when I noticed the other car. It was parked along the curb about 2 houses down from the driveway. The engine was running, headlights off. But someone was sitting in the driver's seat. I could see the outline of their head through the windshield. They weren't looking at the road. They were looking at me. I pulled into the driveway anyway. It didn't feel threatening exactly. People sit in cars at night sometimes, checking their phones, waiting for someone inside. Still, I was aware of it. The way their head didn't move, just facing the driveway, watching. I grabbed the grocery bags and stepped out of the car. The air outside felt colder than it had a few minutes earlier. That quiet, suburban kind of silence. No traffic, no distant music, just the faint hum of someone's air conditioner somewhere down the street. The garage was attached to the house on the left side, exactly where the instructions said to leave the bags. As I walked across the driveway, I glanced toward the parked car again. The person inside hadn't moved. Same position, same stillness, just watching. I set the grocery bags down beside the garage door. The concrete felt cold through the soles of my shoes. Normally, when I deliver at night, I hear something from inside the house. TV noise, footsteps, someone moving near the door. But this place was silent, completely silent. No light behind the windows, no sound inside the garage, just the faint clicking of the engine cooling in my car behind me. I took out my phone and opened the delivery app to take the confirmation photo. The camera flash lit up the driveway for half a second, bright enough that I could see the reflection of the parked car's windshield at the end of the street, and the silhouette inside it, still facing me, still watching. The photo uploaded. The app paused for a moment while processing the delivery. Then a message notification appeared. Customer message. "Thanks for bringing them this late." That was normal enough, except for one detail. The message icon showed the customer location inside the house, not near the street, not near the parked car, inside the house. I looked up at the windows again. Every one of them was dark. No light, no movement. I checked the parked car again. The person was still sitting there, still facing the driveway. I stood there for a moment longer than I should have, just long enough for the situation to start feeling slightly off. Then I turned and walked back toward my vehicle. The gravel at the edge of the driveway crunched softly under my shoes. When I opened the car door and sat down, the interior suddenly felt warmer than outside. I started the engine. The headlights came on, lighting up the street ahead. And that's when the parked car moved. Not quickly, just a slow roll forward from the curb. The car eased away from its spot and began driving down the street, in the same direction I was about to go. I sat there for a moment, watching it. It wasn't speeding. It wasn't trying to hide anything, just moving slowly through the neighborhood. I pulled out of the driveway and followed the road toward the main street. The other car stayed about half a block ahead, same steady speed, same distance. After 2 turns, I realized something. They weren't leaving the neighborhood. They were matching my route. Every time I turned, they turned. Not immediately, but close enough, like they were keeping track of me. I told myself it was coincidence. Suburban neighborhoods have limited exits. Everyone eventually funnels onto the same road. But the farther we drove, the quieter the streets became, and the fewer houses there were. Eventually, the road opened into a wider 2-lane street that led back toward the city. The other car slowed slightly. I could see the shape of the driver's head through the back window, still facing forward, still moving at that same controlled speed. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the delivery app. Same customer. Everything arrived perfectly. I glanced at the notification, then back at the car ahead of me, because something about the timing didn't make sense. If the message came from inside the house, then who had been sitting in that car watching me unload the groceries? The road ahead reached an intersection with a red light. The car in front of me stopped. I stopped behind it. For the first time since leaving the driveway, the driver moved. Slowly. Their head turned slightly toward the rearview mirror. Toward me. I couldn't see their face clearly, just the dark outline of someone looking back. Then the light turned green. The car drove forward. Instead of continuing toward the highway, it turned right, toward the industrial district, a place where most of the delivery drivers work at night. Warehouses, storage buildings, late-night restaurants, the areas where drivers wait between orders. I didn't follow. I kept going straight toward the city. But as I drove, something about the order kept bothering me. Not the message, not the watching, the address. So when I reached the next stoplight, I opened the delivery history in the app. The order was still there, still marked as completed, still showing the same suburban address. But the map preview looked slightly different now. The location pin had moved, not to another house, not to another street. It was sitting directly on top of a wide, empty parking lot in the industrial district, right where most of the delivery drivers wait at night, the exact place where I usually park between orders. I zoomed in on the map. The pin stayed there, right in the center of the lot, and for the first time that night, I understood what had actually happened. The delivery address hadn't been random. The groceries weren't the point. Someone had just needed a reason to get me to show up somewhere, to see which car I drove, to watch me, to follow the same route I take every night. And now they knew exactly where to find me.